Welcome you all to the Highline. I'm so excited to be here with Britta Marakatt-Labba. Welcome, Britta. Let's give her a round of applause.
Kiitos huijolla, Cecilia, för hoidemu. I say thank you so much to you, Cecilia, that you invited me to this Highline and the sculpture standing here. And also, I'm grateful to see so many people in the audience.
Yes, and
Thank
friends and colleagues, welcome you all. And it's going to be a very lively conversation. Of course, we are enjoying this gorgeous weather, but we're also in the middle of New York City, so it's a little bit loud, so bear with us. We'll try to speak slow and loud. But I also want to say that I had the honor of working with Britta in the occasion of the Venice Biennale, which I curated in 2022 in Italy. And Britta showed, for those of you who were there, a number of quite exquisite embroideries, which were exhibited at the Arsenale, depicting everyday scenes from Sámi life, history, and mythology. I've always loved her work, and I was very lucky to encounter it at Documenta in 2017. And I also want to welcome Candice Hopkins, who is here, who was an advisor and co-curator of the exhibition. And in that occasion, Britta exhibited probably the biggest work you've ever made, a 24-meter long, sorry, I cannot translate in feet, but incredibly long tapestry or frieze that is currently on view in her retrospective at Moderna Musette. And I was really touched by both the beauty and the poetry of the piece, while at the same time she was able to address very important issues, including cultural oppression and environmental threats. What we like to do at the Highline with all the artists that we work with is to kind of push them a little bit outside of the comfort zone. So, of course, what I knew about Britta were mostly these really delicate, almost intimate works made on like embroideries. I know she did a few sculptures before, but we really wanted to push her to think of something that could sort of dialogue with the tradition of monumental sculptures that we usually see in the public space. And I think what she created for us is a very exciting new step in her practice. And so today we will be talking a little bit about her sculpture and about her practice in general. We'll keep a few minutes at the end of the talk for some questions from the audience. Just keep them to the end of the talk. So now, Britta, welcome again. We are very, very pleased you're here. And I want to start with a very general question. Can you tell us a little bit about the genesis of this wonderful work that you brought on the Highline?
I try to do my best. The work is in the hall. It's about something I long carried within me. And my intention has been to create a larger piece of Urmodern mattar aqua, primal mother, in 3 languages then. I first made a smaller version that I carved in wood. In my visual world, the primal mothers wear a type of hat that has the symbolism of horns. At the front, the horn hat is Sámi Lajo Gahbir. The primal mother. Okay.
And maybe you expand a little bit on the title, Urmodern. Tell us more about the title and if it refers to a specific myth or like a figure in your own culture.
Okay. The primal mother is the one in Sámi mythology who carries and bestows wisdom. Beneath her stand 3 Sámi goddesses, the goddess of hunting, the goddess of fertility, and the goddess of doorway. Saarahkua, Mattarahkua, ja Juksahkua. The work, The Primal Mother, is about how one wears the Lajugahbir, the hat with the horn. Horn hat conveys Sámi beliefs and mythology. The wearer possesses strength, pride, and wisdom. The hat was forbidden when Christianity came to Sápmi. One was not allowed to wear a hat with a horn. It was considered to devil's work. Mm. The women who had worn the hat turned the horn backwards so that no authority could read that they were still wearing a hat with horn, but it was the backwards now, and it is called for njeidegapier.
And normally the hat is red, right?
Yeah, normally the hat is red, but you can also see that the hat is blue somewhere. And it's because this women who carries this blue hat is carrying sorrow. And nowadays when I use these blue hats in my embroideries, it's because I'm thinking about all the things that's happening now in the world.
Of course.
Yeah. But I can see also today in Sami society that many women has reconstructed this hat and they are carrying it today. Many of Sami women politics are carrying this hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, and it's great to see it here in a bronze version.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the materials that you chose. The sculpture is composed of a large piece of granite that comes from your own country, and then it's toppled by a visage or a face made of bronze.
Yeah.
Can you maybe talk a little bit about the materials and in particular the granite, because I know it had a specific significance and meaning for you.
I choose granite for the pedestal because stone is sustainable material, and after use the material to use that the material can go back to the nature again. And in that case, Samis, we have always choose materials that we have think that this material should go back to the nature after that you have used it, of course. Mm. In that case, I choose bronze for the head. It was because materials like silver, tin, and copper have been used by Sámi for various purposes, and considered bronze is the closest I would get to the traditional used materials. So in that case, I choose this material. But of course, people are thinking, why do she talk about tin, silver, and copper? Because it's not so sustainable. But Samis, we didn't use those materials for a huge, well, it was only for smaller pieces of, if you wanted to buy pans or vessels.
Sure.
So in that case, we used this material. Mm.
And Sámi mythology teaches that every part of the landscape, stones, plants, water, has a spirit.
Yeah.
Does the use of natural granite in this piece symbolize that belief, or how did you approach that part, and especially thinking about the high line?
Yeah, I have thought carefully about how to take stone from nature. I did not take the block for the Urmodern without first asking permission from nature and subterranean spirits. May I use this block? It is to travel across the Atlantic to the USA. Is it allowed to stand at high line? I hope and believe that observers sense that the choice of material and this idea behind the sculpture to touch the senses and spark curiosity about Sámi culture, belief, and mythology. In Sámi tradition, various rock formations has been placed on parade one prayed or two made offerings to. To sacrifice stone must be treated by unyielding respect.
And can you talk a little bit about the High Line? Was that an inspiration for you? And especially as you see it today here in this beautiful environment.
Yeah. A rusty winds around and walking on highland is like walking on a path. I have walked on highland before, and what appeals me to how they have managed to build highline. It's really nice here. So with this lush vegetation, how the footpath has been constructed. Do you hear?
Yeah.
The rusty railway appeals to me how many have not traveled by this rail daily. It makes in the metropolis here the stillness that surrounds highlands. The Urmodern.
Let me hold this for a second.
Yeah, the Urmodern. No, now it will go round. Do you hear? Now? Okay. The Urmodern stands on the railway track through the seasons, gazing behind passing people. She stands there marveling at how well she trails amidst all the highlands representerar. What is that in English? Represents. Yeah, okay.
That's great.
I hope you got something about when I told you about this Urmodern.
We got it, everything, and it's as a curator, we always try to find good spot and good locations for the artists, and I'm very attached to the place where we actually showed your sculpture because it's kind of surrounded by birch trees, so I thought there could be an interesting connection with a sort of Nordic landscape, but then you see the train tracks, so you know that you're on the highlands. So I hope we did a good job in choosing that.
I was talking about birch trees. It's really important in Sámi culture. It's warming us, and also that we get materials for the duodji. Duodji is the handicraft. But we are working. So, and there's a lot other things we got from the birch trees also. I am dyeing sometimes when the leaves are green. I dye from the plants. I take plants and dye my own yarns.
And you also make all your threads and cotton and the canvas.
I dye them.
Yeah, you dye. I want to go to question number 6 because we have a whole have a whole plan here.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, for those of you who don't know Britta's work, I would say that the embroideries are such a really exquisite art form that she's been using for quite some time in very different scales. Sometimes they're very domestic, very small, like the ones that we showed in Venice. Other times are sort of monumental, like those that were showed in Documenta, and they were now in the museum in Stockholm. But I'm curious for you to talk a little bit about how you go from something that you can literally make on your lap and in a very domestic way to something that is much more monumental and requires maybe also fabrication that is not you making it or going to get a piece of granite. So how do you think about this relationship between your two-dimensional work and your larger works?
In my work with intricate embroideries, I often think three-dimensionally. I move behind the image and walk around the figures. In my mind, I build certain embroidery parts in 3 dimensions. When I embroidered Urmodern, at the same time, I sculpt the make sculptures, heads and faces in other materials, such as wood, stone and bronze. The materials, textile, stone and wood, are all natural materials and have their own lives. The fibers run in the same way. So it's not so big difference, because to work with natural materials is, it's really the same if you work in textile or work in wood or work in stone.
Do you have a favorite material?
I have, and it's really textile, of course, and wood. I think that wood is also, it's really nice to sit and carve wood. Also.
So later we're going to talk to Alan about opening a gallery, an indoor gallery on the Highlands, so we can also exhibit some more, precious and delicate works. He's working on it, I know.
I mean that work with those materials is like that they hold together well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go to the next question, number 7. You mentioned early on the sort of history and tradition of your Sámi hat, but I want you to talk a little bit more in general about some of the stereotypes that have often been attached to indigenous peoples, but also Sámi culture.
Mm. The great challenge in my artist's work has been that the content of the images should present visuals that counter stereotypes about indigenous peoples. And in my case about us Sámi, through my art I have had desire to portray images in a way that undermines prejudice against us Sámi, prejudice about how art by indigenous artists should look like. I convey through these images about our culture, how we have had, how we have today, and we don't know about the future. Hopefully the art awakens curiosity in the viewer. One might even wish to learn more about us as people in the long run. If we work hard enough, I hope stereotypical thinking about indigenous peoples, as Sámi, will gradually diminish. Not wish to be confined in a specific Stone Age box.
Another very powerful aspect of your work is that you are able to address larger discussions and conversations about land rights and environmental concerns. And so I'm curious to hear you speak about how the struggle for land rights has been a source of influence in your work, and how you can sort of, balance the beauty of your artistic outcome and the seriousness of the topics that you talk about.
Environmental issues and land rights are topics I have been concerned with. As early as in the beginning of 1970s, as a young art student, I followed Sámi politicians in meetings about land rights and learn more. I really would like to learn more, and in that case I followed them. When global warming started being discussed many years earlier, I had begun in my visual work to address the consequences when the Earth warms by several degrees. Breaking ice, hurricane winds sweeping across, raising water levels, consequences that became incredible, for everyone. Reindeer herding and other primary livelihoods are these who receive the greatest blows. Next came the challenge of how to stop mineral explorations in Sámi lands, the aggressive advance of mining companies projecting over large areas. which would forever cast a dark shadow over the survival of Sámi culture. My vision in that is that through my art to wage a struggle to bring forward important questions of environment and land rights through art. In Sámi society, especially among those who work in reindeer herding, women have had a very important and central role. I think that was the 9th.
Yeah, but maybe just in general, and I ask question number 9, do you think that art and activism can live together? Do you think your work is the work of an activist, or is that difference even relevant for you?
No, I think it's really activism. I can say like that I'm an activist from my art.
That's great. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not standing and doing like this, but through my art I'm an activist.
And we have just a couple of more questions, but one important question, which is number 10, I think that the piece speaks of so many different aspects of your own culture and culture in general, but I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit more about the position of women in Sámi culture. You mentioned that a little bit before, but it would be nice to hear you talk about, have there been changes? Do you think the younger generations are more involved in feminist struggle or,
Yeah, I think that younger people, they are more interested in questions like feminist, but when I first time heard the word feminist, I really didn't know what was that all about, because I was brought up in one family with one strong mother. We were 10 children in my family. My father died when I was only 5 years, and she was working in the reindeer herding, so it was not so easy. So I thought that all Sámis were matriarchal. Mm-hmm. So I was so wrong, but it was my family who was that my mother took care of everything. Yeah. Mm.
Well, she did a great job.
Yeah.
A couple of questions about going back to your sculpture. You're finally on the High Line. It's a gorgeous day.
Yeah.
What was the first feeling that you had as you saw your work here?
My feeling was that, oh, wow, you're still standing here. How do you have? And do you have had the good time here on High Line? And then I was really close to her and touch her. And I think that she was so happy to meet me again.
I'm sure she was. And then a question. You have done some public artworks before. I think you had a few I believe in Norway or Sweden. But I'm just curious, as an artist, you get to show your work in places like Moderna Museet, which is an amazing institution, and let's say a Y-cube space, but also in unconventional spaces like the High Line. Is that something that you like? Do you think it brings something different, like a new dimension maybe to your work?
I think for me it's very nice that I can show this Urmodern here on High Line, because there are many people seeing this sculpture, and in that case maybe many would like to learn more about me as a Sámi and our culture, so that I hope that people will be more curious about our culture and how we live and what kind of questions are very important for us. So in that case, it's really nice to be here at High Line.
Well, that's what we hope to do with the program, which is very international. We love to bring artists like yourself to the High Line and talk to New Yorkers, but also to the very broad audience that we have. And one last question. Many people ask us, what happens to the sculptures when the exhibition is over, and I don't know if there is a plan for this sculpture to go somewhere else, but I'm also curious, is there a place that you would like to see this sculpture in the future?
I have 3 places. Okay. Some of them I would like to have this sculpture on, but I don't know if it's...
Can you mention them?
I don't know, but I can.
Even if they're like,
I can just say to you that I would like this sculpture outside the UN building here in New York City.
Yes.
Outside the UN stands now the non-violence, the not gun with the Carl Ritsvärd. And this stands for no violence. And it's a powerful symbol of peace. Mm-hmm. One wish is that Urmodern be placed there also to speak to observers about reflections and contemplations over what is happening in the world today. We do have war, uprising in streets and squares, global warming, the destruction of and exploration of our natural resources. I think that the Urmodern is a symbol of wisdom. If we only listen, she speaks to the viewer and teach us how to ought to be and act toward the surrounding us, what is surrounding us. The primal mother with her horn hat is a strong symbol of primal force. We all should open our senses, reflect, and consider how we want to be the world to look like. Wherever she stands, she gazes over us, sweeping her deep gaze over us and asking, has humanity truly learned nothing from the Creator's warnings and from indigenous wisdom not to plunder nature, to take only what you need for the daily survival? Mm. And then I have also option number 2. Why not on Princess Estelle Sculpture Park in Djurgården in Stockholm?
Okay, I think we have some people here that can make it happen, maybe.
There are Sámi people in Sweden and Nordic countries. A sculpture by indigenous artists, Elevator Park selection of chosen artists. So that would really be nice, that we could get Sámi culture in somewhere in Sweden also. One place where there many people are working there. And I know that Prince Daniel is very interested in art and sculptures, and even his daughter Estelle.
Well, we can invite him to see the beautiful sculpture on the High Line.
And I do also have option number 3, the Norway Art Museum in Tromsø, Norway. It also belonged to my region. My family annually migrates each spring and summer with reindeer to northern Norway. That would also be fitting, especially as my 24-meter embroidery Historia is to be exhibited permanently at the Tromsø Art Museum.
I think they're all amazing options. At the Highland we don't collect, so we will be sad to see it go, but we still have at least 6 more months of exhibition, and we're very excited to see it maybe under a coat of snow very soon. Maybe not, but we'll see with climate change. But we'll work with you to make sure that the sculpture has another existence, another life elsewhere. So, but thank you, Britta. You were amazing.
Thank you. I'm so sorry that
you were fantastic.
I have to tell you that English is actually my 5th language.
Let's listen to that. 5th language.
5th language.
So I think you have the right to answer in all the languages that you want live. We'll take a couple of questions if there are. We just ask you to come out, or we'll pass the microphone. But short and sweet, please. Any question? Don't be shy. It's amazing to have Britta here. We have a couple of questions.
Okay, I try to
On
answer.
my way.
Well, Britta, that was fantastic. We're a little group of Swedish people back here, and I think all over. I was really curious. You mentioned this museum in Tromsø, and then you also how you spoke about the reindeer that migrate, your family's reindeer migrating there.
Yeah.
What has happened to your family, and who took over the reindeer tending, and how often are you, engaged there and visit, and what does that immersion look like right now? Jag kan fråga på svenska också.
Jag frågar på svenska.
Ja, men precis. Det är mycket bättre.
Yes,
Ja. Nej, jag tyckte det var jättespännande att höra om din familj och att ni var 10 barn och med rennäringen.
Ja.
Finns det fortfarande kvar i familjen? Vem tog över? Är det också en kvinna? Hur ser det ut? Och syns det i din konst någonting?
Vad sa du det sista?
Och syns det i din konst?
Okay, I answer in English. My family, it was first of all my mother took the, of course, most of the reindeer herding that it was still working. But I did have 2 brothers, but they were only children. My youngest brother was only 13 years old, and he was allowed to stop the school because he was working with the reindeer after that, and also my other brother. And of course, in Sámi, we do work together. All the relatives are helping each other. In that case, because I did have my uncles, and so they helped. But I think it was really, for my mother, it was really hard at that time. But he held us together, and yeah, I'm still here. And of course, in my embroideries, you can read all such things about. For me, it was very important to tell with my embroideries first how we have had and how we have today. But as I said, we don't know anything about the future. But the future today is not so light for the reindeer herdings. Global upwarmings and all this digging of minerals. So it's a big challenge today to be reindeer herder. But if the reindeer herding culture is gone, then we have lost. We are going to lose a lot of things: the language, and also this traditional handicraft, and other things also. Mm. And that's what I'm working with today. I'm telling about this in my embroideries. Mm.
There's a question, the gentleman with a blue shirt on the back.
Thank you for coming today and talking with everybody. I was struck by the story that you were talking about, kind of a cultural resistance with the hats when you mentioned that before. Now, I've not yet seen your sculpture and looking forward to that, but I wanted to ask 2 questions. One, does the headpiece on your sculpture have that hole? And if you could talk to us a little bit more about what the hole means in those hats, the cultural significance of that.
I think I have been studying this hat for so long time. I was so interested in that hat when I was a student at the HDK in Gothenburg. So I started to study it, and I was asking all the time, what did the hole really meant for those who carried those hats? And I think it was just that they were powerful women who carried these hats, and of course they really wanted to show for the community that we are here and we are working for our culture and we are really powerful. And I think this was that the authorities saw that these women, they are doing something that's not so good for the Christianity and those who came to Sápmi, you know. So, but we do have a lot of really strong women in Sápmi. They are still working that we can survive, and held the families together and brought up children. And
And we take one more question just here in the front. Last question.
Thank you. How many Sámi people exist today, and how many are still herding reindeer?
it was a really not the question I really can. I don't know how many we are in Sweden, but you know, nowadays there are more and more Sámi people who are saying, "Oh, I did have an ancestor; she was Sámi," and in that case, became many more today. And how many who are working in with reindeer, both in Norway, Sweden, and Finland? Not so many, but they are those who are the culture bearer. We do have language will survive, and of course all these names about nature and also snow and everything that is still, so long as we do have reindeer, because they know everything about the nature. So I mean that all these scientists should really listen more for people who are working with agriculture, reindeer herders and others, so those who are fishing, and because they have a lot of kunskap, knowledge. Yeah.
Do you feel like I have one more question?
Yeah, we can take one.
Last one.
Is it really last one?
Thank you so much for speaking about your art and sort of leading the Sápmi heritage. I just want to share that a close friend of mine, she just graduated as a fashion designer in Norway, and she is a forest Finn, but she grew up in Oslo, which is another indigenous group in Norway. And I just want to say that you bring a lot of comfort to sort of the new generation of artists. And I mean, my friend grew up in Oslo and is just now rediscovering her forest Finn heritage. So perhaps you could speak a little bit about sort of the community that you're tending to, and perhaps young artists that come to you and look up to you. Like, do you have that mentorship now, or how does that look like?
No, I choose to teach at the Sámi University College in Kautokeino because I really wanted to share what I have got through my art. For me, it's very important that young people, and I'm very happy that they also take contact with me and want to learn more. That's really nice that young people want to learn more, and sometimes I feel like that, am I really so old that these young people are coming to me? Do I know anything? It's not so easy it's easy to give these young people these things I have got through my life, and through that what I have been working with.
Well, thank you, Britta. You were
Thank
amazing.
you.
We're so grateful for you.